Perfect. What's going on, my trainer club? Today we are going to check out one of my favorite topics that I'm going to address, and that is going to be, what do you do with your rare Pokemon when you just get a good one? I want to have your back. I want to make sure you do the best thing for you. So welcome to the trainer club. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Let me know in the comments below, how are you doing with your new Team Rocket, Go Rocket shinies that have been released? You know, there's 4 of them if you checked out my video. So let me know in the comments below. I am super excited to hear you guys. And also, if you haven't subbed to my channel, now is the time to do so because we have a lot of good information coming up. So definitely keep that up. All right, guys, so what we are gonna do in this video is, number 1, I'm gonna give you my strategy for what I suggest doing with your rare Pokemon. Number 2, I'm then going to cover a little bit more of why you would want to save your Pokemon. And then number 3, I am going to give you a list of my top rare Pokemon that I would not evolve and that I am currently saving right now when I have good quality ones. Let's say we get a lucky, let's say we're trading like Mudkips. I get a lucky 98% Mudkip, and what's my initial thing? I gotta evolve it. This is what we're gonna cover. I'm gonna give you my top Pokemon that I suggest saving that will help you max out your bag and help you be a much better trainer when it comes to playing PvP, whatever that is. We are going to get into that right now. Let's do it. My last maxed out Monday really inspired me to do so because of a thought process that I had when I was maxing out a Pokemon. So if you don't know, every week on Monday we do Maxed Out Monday on my Twitter. If you want to check it out, it's at the Trainer Club with 2 B's at the end, and that's where we post every single Monday the Pokemon that we have maxed out most recently or something that we haven't posted before that we're proud about. So Maxed Out Monday, definitely the place to be. I love it. We get to interact. Everybody shows off their Pokemon. It's a fun time. So getting onwards, my last Maxed Out Monday post was a Gible that I traded that happened to be a level 35 100% IV, right? So it came out to be a 100%, obviously, because I just said that. So what we were going to do is, I was like, okay, you know, like, I really want a Garchomp. I'm not gonna lie, I want a Garchomp, right? So I was like, my initial impulse, and I'm sure you guys have this, it was like, power it up, evolve it, max it, done, right? And I've done that before. And if you haven't played Pokemon Go for a while, or if you have, the one thing that you will always learn about Pokemon Go is patience makes the best gameplay. And what I mean by that is, let's take, for instance, when the game first came out, right? Everybody's like gung-ho, like, oh, I gotta evolve this stuff, I'm gonna power this up, like, this is the best CP, highest CP matters the best. And then one time, like, I literally was at a Charmander nest and I was like, catching Charmanders, got 125, I was like, yes, I can have a Charizard, and I was like, which one do I power up, which one do I evolve, highest CP, boom, done. And then literally the next day, somebody was like, hey, did you ever hear about IVs? What the heck is an IV? Like, that doesn't matter. And I heard about it and I was like, yeah, that doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. And I looked at the Charizard that I just spent 2 days at a Charmander nest doing, because there weren't pineapple berries back then, and it happened to be like a 54%, and I was like, huh. That's kind of disappointing. So lesson number 1 comes about. Be patient when you play Pokemon. And then let's give another example. So community days, right? We didn't know about community days, but what happened? We had the Larvitars come out and I was like, so gung-ho, gotta get it. And then they're like, oh, we're gonna have community days with shinies. And I'm like, oh, cool. And we're gonna introduce some new moves that are gonna be exclusive and they're gonna make your Pokemon more powerful most of the time. And I was like, huh, I have 5 maxed out Bite Crunch T-Tars that could have had Smackdown, right? Not that I wouldn't have had those because I used them for Mewtwo and it was really good, but I could have had Smackdown, which is a community day move, which leads me now back to present day, because we've learned our lessons. In Pokemon Go, you want to be patient, right? So these are all lessons that we've learned. You want to be patient. As hard as it is to be patient, especially if you have like a good quality lucky, right? Takes me back to me powering up my Gible. Instead of turning it into a Garchomp, I was like, huh, maybe I should wait for this Gible because it's a rare Pokemon and it's going to have a community day at some point because it's rare, right? Dratini's had one, Larvitar, Beldum, everything's had a community day. So Gible will have one at one point. So I know I don't necessarily need it. And most of the time we don't really need these new guys, right? Like, they're super cool. Maybe they'll be the #1 attacker, But if you have a Groudon, like, is it really that big of a difference unless you're trying to like duo something, right? That you might need a team of maxed out Garchomps, but then you are forgoing the potential to get the Community Day move at some point. So my recommendation number one, which we're gonna get into, I have two recommendations. Number one is once you get that rare Pokemon, regardless of what it is, right? If it's that rare one, let's say it's a Larvitar. Oh, I just hatched 100% Larvitar. Evolve, evolve, evolve. I want to have 100% Tyranitar, and then I max it, and then I'm like, oh, wait, I know there's no Larvitar day. So get this. Last year for December Community Day, we had the 3-hour window, and you could evolve any of the past Community Days and get their moveset. So maybe, at least for this year, we will get the ability to do that. But maybe we will also get last year's, and we don't know because last year was the first December that we've had a Community Day like that. So this year will be the second Community Day. So if all Community Day Pokemon have the ability to evolve with their special moveset, I highly, highly recommend that you do not evolve to the 3rd tier evolution unless it is an absolute dire necessity for your bag. Because there are other things that we can use. Like instead of a Tyranitar, you could maybe use a Honchkrow for the dark. There are other things that you can utilize. Like instead of the Garchomp, I can utilize my Groudons. I have 4 max Groudons. Do I actually need an additional maxed out Garchomp that could have an exclusive Community Day move that would make him 50% more powerful, like that Hydro Cannon does the Feraligatr and the Swampert, right? So this is why I want to bring this issue to you guys, because it's very important, number one, that I help you guys max out the game, and number two, that you make the best decisions overall. And for me, if I had this lucky 100% maxed out Garchomp and it didn't have the Community Day move that made him 50% more powerful, I would feel more upset with the fact that I had that, because 100% IVs are rare now, right? We don't get as many of those. When you actually get 100% rare Pokemon, it's now like, okay, we have to really strategize. We get a 98%. I would say for any of these good Pokemon, my suggestion is if you aren't in a dire situation, that you absolutely must have it right now, that you wait until December to see if you can then evolve it with the Community Day moves. And if not, then you can evolve it anyway then. I know the patience game is hard in Pokemon. You just want to have it. You're a collector. You love it. That is my suggestion for number one. For number two, there's 2 different scenarios here. You find a level 35 Gible in the wild, which I did in Bend, Oregon. There was one. And it was terrible IVs, so what did I do? I saved it for trade. So that's option number one. You can save it for trade. But let's say you want to really use a Garchomp. You want a Garchomp. What I would suggest doing is you have your one set away for lucky trade. And since the Gibles aren't that common, let's use like a Larvitar because they're more common. Let's say you have a 98 and 100%, but then you found a level 35 in a sunny day in the wild, and it's like a 70%. I would rather have you waste candy on evolving that guy, 125 candies to evolve him, than for you to evolve your good one because of the Community Day potential. Hey, you're good. So, with all of that said, will you take my recommendation? Let me know in the comments below, because I know some of you guys are like, I don't need those Community Day moves. I just want a dope Garchomp. I just want this Garchomp. He looks amazing. He's cool. I gotta have him. That's how I feel too. But I'm gonna put the brakes on because I would rather have. It's not a question of do you really want, it's which would you rather have? Would you rather have a Garchomp right now to fulfill this urgency, or would you rather have this Pokemon, and you can put any of these other Pokemon in there that I'm talking about with a legacy moveset from a Community Day? And the Pokemon that I'm going to cover that I would recommend doing this with is number one, Beldum. I mean, if you get 100% Beldum, the Meteor Mash moveset is vastly superior than the other moveset. So that is absolutely number one. The other ones that you may not need to is like Dratini. I mean, Draco Meteor is cool, but Outrage is better. Salamence for the Bagon is definitely a Community Day that you absolutely must save for, because that Outrage Salamence is so powerful. What else do we have? We have the Tyranitar from the Larvitar, right? So if you get that really good Larvitar, let's say 98, 100%, you hatch it, you're like, oh, I'm going to power this up and evolve it. Wait, because the Smackdown Stone Edge, although we have a new Rampardos, which is also one that I would suggest holding on to because he's new, he's rare, he's really, really powerful. At some point, he does have an optimal moveset, but at some point, he may get a moveset that makes him even more powerful. So I did power one up and max it. I didn't think about that for the Rampardos as we're talking about it right now. So for my recommendations for the future, save those guys. So keep saving these Pokemon to stack up for the community days so that you can get that. So my top 5 that you absolutely must save for this community day, good quality ones that you want to evolve and you want to put the brakes on, is number 1, you want to have the Beldum, you want to have the Bagon, you want to have the Cranidos, you also want to have the Gible. And I'm not saying that those guys will be this year, but at some point they're going to be, and it's going to be worth the wait. Trust me, you're definitely going to want to wait. And then I would definitely say the Swampert because of the Hydro Cannon. That really makes him the second most powerful water attacker in the game. And then the other ones that I would recommend as well is we have the Gen 4 starters, the Turtwig, the Chimchar, and the Piplup, which will at some point have a community day, probably coming up pretty soon, right? So we obviously have the Ralts community day. We don't know what the moveset is yet, but it has the potential to be pretty boss and dominant. So that's why I'm saying, guys, you definitely want to save these rare Pokemon. It is worth your wait to save it unless you are in a dire situation. So that's what I think. Let me know in the comments below what you think as well.
Before we sign out here, guys, I just want to give you a quick overview of the older Pokemon that have community day moves that I would suggest saving as well, because we just gave you the Gible as well as the Rampardos. I would definitely suggest saving those guys because of the future community days, along with the Gen 4 starters that's definitely going to be coming in the near future. So right here we have the Pikachu, Dratini. I wouldn't suggest saving either of those guys because I actually like the Outrage better than the Draco Meteor because it's the 2-bar special, pretty similar in the stats. I would definitely suggest saving if you get a really good Bulbasaur because Venusaur then gets Frenzy Plant, pretty dominant moveset. Mareep doesn't matter too much. The Charmander is definitely one that you want to save because Blast Burn Charizard is pretty good. Larvitar as well, amazing move with that Smackdown. And then Squirtle doesn't matter too much. Eevee with that Last Resort, not super impressive. Chikorita with the Frenzy Plant is a decent Pokemon, but you definitely want to save the Beldum as we talked about as well. And the Cyndaquil is okay. It's not super big or super drastic. The next we're going to check out Totodile with the Feraligatr, was the second best water attacker with the Hydro Cannon until the Swampert took over, so you're definitely going to want to save those Mudkips. The Swinub is just a so-so Pokemon, nothing really that you want to put out right there because the Ice Mamoswine is definitely the premier ice attacker, but he's not a premier ground attacker. But Trico, definitely for that Sceptile with the Frenzy Plant, dominant. Bagon with the Outrage, super dominant as well. Torchic, Blast Burn, amazing as well. Slackoth, doesn't really matter too much. And then Mudkip with the Hydro Cannon. The Gen 3 starters really took the crown this time around.
I appreciate you guys being a part of the Trainer Club. All my likers, subscribers, commenters, sharers. I love the shares. The shares really help me out a lot. You guys are welcome to share my videos anywhere you want, at any time you want. You have my permission. And then, of course, an extra special thank you to the people that have supported me on Patreon and continue to do so. You guys help me make this possible. So you know what I'm gonna do. See you out on the next video. Peace.
I just wanted to take a moment and sincerely thank every single person that decided to take their subscription and their support to me to the next level as a small channel, and really trying to grow and hit new levels and be able to travel and really meet up with a lot of my fans and the communities around the world and the US especially. I just want to say that your support really means a lot to me. It helps me out, and I greatly appreciate you for being a part of the Trainer Club. Thank you so much.